Like to welcome everybody to Old Farts Racing RC. Things I'm going to go over today is one of the main things is you guys wanted to know how I hydro dip the inside of this body. And let you know the process. I have a video of the dip itself, but I didn't take a video of me painting it because I think there's a lot of videos online of people painting these bodies, but not as many as people dipping the insides. I also dipped the inside of my SC 6.2. But first, I'm going to tell you a little bit about myself. My name's Kevin. I'm up here on Vancouver Island, British Columbia. I've been racing now for it's coming up on my third year. I started with the short course, my SC 6.2. I bought it, put it together, basically showed up to the first big race of the year. It's sort of the kickoff race, which is Carpet Wars. We used to do it in Machosen at a very small hall, some very old carpet, 2x4s. This club has grown immensely in the last 2.5 years or 2 years since I've been involved. Um, I've seen, yeah, wow, we've new carpet, click track, new jumps, new everything. Richard's done a really good job of pushing that and getting us going and heading in the right direction. So for me, I used to race one-on-one, so full-size cars, mini stocks, Hornets, jumped in a few others here and there, practice nights and whatnot, testing things out. 4 years ago, I had a heart attack. Actually, almost 5 years ago now, I had a heart attack. I was told, nope, not going to be able to race. I was looking forward to one more season at Western Speedway before they closed, but that just did not come to fruition. So I was sitting around one day thinking to myself, I want to do something. I got to do something. My doctor said I can't race full size cars anymore. So I wanted to do something. So I was looking online and I was already a member of Coastal Off Road on Facebook. So what I decided was I'd get in touch with one of the guys. I got in touch with Richard. He talked me into, well, didn't really talk me into it, just let me know what I needed, the basics. So what I did is I went and bought the SC 6.2 up at NRC Hobbies in Nanaimo. Took the drive up one day. Matt was really good. So I picked up the chassis itself, basically the kit. Then I went to a couple weeks later, after I got it all assembled, I went to Canadian Hobbies, bought the electronics for it. Afro RC, I got a body for it at the time. It's a shame Afro's had to close down. He was forced out of his space. He hasn't reopened as of yet. Who knows what the future holds for him? But hopefully they can figure that out and get something going. More hobby shops, the better. Here on the island, we have 3 hobby shops mainly now. We have NRC and Nanaimo. We have Canada Hobbies out in Souk, and we have BC Hobbies, who has sort of become my number one store for off-road racing and supplies. And NRC has become my number 2. It's a matter of just trying to keep it local and keep it going. So anyway, over the course of who knows how many videos, this may be the only one I do. I may do more. Don't really know yet. I'm just going to go through the mistakes I made. Firstly, the mistakes with the short course. What I had done is I had installed the layback transmission. Now, that'd be great if we were running clay outdoors, from what my understanding is, but we run indoor on a high bite carpet. So, which means I should have been running the laid down transmission. So what that does is it gives you a little bit of a lower center of gravity from what my understanding is. Can never figure out why. I just couldn't get it right. So what I'm in the process of doing is basically rebuilding my short course back to kit setup. Shock, suspension, oils, everything is going right back to kit. I'm starting from square one. And yeah, again, with the lay down transmission as compared to a lay back. I've added the rear sway bar, so that's one thing I will be adding to it. And I've also added the gear diff, which, again, this is learning from my mistakes. When I was taking it apart, I tore the gasket. Now, for those of you in the US, it might be easy. There might be tons of these gaskets. For us up here in Canada, not so much. Not one hobby store that I know of, I've been searching online, has one of these. Our main distributor, which is HPD, they're currently out of stock. So yeah, so I'm going to be doing a Kevin fix on it. What I'm going to do basically is use a little RTV, keep that gasket on it, And then, yeah, because the gasket, I do believe, will be used as a preload for the gears inside. So it's almost like a spacer. So that way there's not too much touching. There's just enough. But anyway, so I'll get that sorted and fixed while I do the rebuild. I'm not going to do the rebuild on here. I'm just going to explain what I'm doing. Of course, my shocks will be rebuilt. That'll go through and hopefully get this thing back set up and ready to go for next year. Now, to hydro dipping these bodies. Now, it is not overly difficult. I'm not going to go through the whole process of painting the body because we all should know how to paint a body, hopefully. What I'm going to do is I just put these pins in. They're a little tight. They've never been in before. So I'm just going to pull them out without wrecking everything, hopefully. There we go. So here's a couple of bodies that I have coming up that I'm going to be doing for my on-road stuff, which I will be racing IROC this year as well, indoor. So this is my touring car body. So all I've done is I've used liquid mask on the inside, drawn my design on just like anyone else would. I've cut all my design lines off. Okay, getting ready. So you can see I've already moved the mask on where I'm going to be putting the black, which is there and there. So those sections will be black. Once I get the black on, I'm basically going to peel all of this off and I'm going to get paint on it. So I'm going to do the paint before I dip. Now, once I paint it and it's dried, then I'm going to come back with this here is basically an Intercoat Clear made by One Hit Wonder. Now, I get my hydrographic supplies at Emerald Coatings based out of Ontario. I live in British Columbia. These guys are awesome. They usually when I order, they usually ship out the next day. And then most of the time I get it a day or two after that. So typically it's 3 to 5 days. I have my products in hand. So this here is basically an Intercoat Clear. So it's a clear coat. Okay. So this allows the hydro dip film to adhere to this with no basically ink or paint on the body or the portions that I'm hydro dipping yet. So I basically spray this on 2 light coats, make sure it's dry, and it's ready to dip. It's really that easy. So, and this is what you end up with when you dip it. I dipped this section separately. I did the whole front and this at one time. Now, is it a perfect dip? No, there's a little spot there. Saw one other spot on it somewhere. Oh, there's another spot there. And that's what you get when you use a spray can activator on these things. I've noticed that with the spray can activator, so this is what it's used to activate the film with, little drops come off it. So it's, you have your fine mist, then you get these little drops that come off every once in a while. When those little drops come off, it puts too much activator on that section of the film. So what happens is you get little burn throughs. So with this, it's, you know, simple. You just shake it, you spray it on until it glosses over. You'll see it. I'll show you. And basically what happens is this is dissolving the paper that the design is printed on. That's it. It just dissolves it in the water. So now you're left with basically the design floating on the water. So I'm doing this as a tote. I actually at one time did have a full-on hydrographic setup. I've done fenders, I've done bumpers, I've done hoods, I've done interior trim pieces for people, all kinds of stuff, light covers, like just anything you can imagine that needs a design on it to wrap around, I've done. So dipping the inside of a body, since I can't paint with the shit, made sense to me. I would dip it and have this cool design, right? Like I'm not a good painter, let's be honest. But I can do this. So anyway, I'm going to cut to some video of me dipping this body here. So you'll see at one point I tried to show that I flared it out when I went into the water, but that didn't really work. But you can still see me flaring it and dipping it. You know, and it's not a perfect paint job. You know, there's here where there's a crack, there's another crack in there on the paint. Some came off here when I was peeling the body. So, you know, it's not perfect, but you want to know something? It'll look cool going around the track, I think. And the dip is fine. It's the paint that's not so fine. Anyway, so I'll click to that and yeah, show you what the dip is. Now this is the hydro film that I'll be using. And you will see that on the one piece I did tape it. You'll see why it's to limit the expansion in the tote, because it's just a tote dip, not a tank dip. So simple, easy dip. Okay, so now I'm just getting ready to dip the wing first. Now I know it looks like a big old piece of paper for the wing, but it's not. There's about 6 different designs on that I want for the wing. There's one in particular, but it repeats itself 6 times basically. Um, so what I'm doing here is just putting the hydrographics paper into the water, gonna spray some activator on it. It's been sitting for a minute. So now the minute's up, it's time to spray it. Now the tote itself, or the water itself, is heated to about 85, 90 degrees. I'm doing it outside. This is some older Hydrovator. It's not really the freshest stuff, as well as my Intercoat Clear isn't the freshest. So you can see I'm having a few problems getting it to spray out of the can. So basically, put the film on the water, put the wing next, and then, like I said, I'm dipping to get that one spot that I really want on there, which is sort of a face and put in the center. I should have worn gloves during this process. I did not, but I should have. It just makes for cleanup easier. Your hands stay dry, especially if you're dipping multiple pieces. You don't want to pick it up with the film up with wet hands. It will have an effect on your dip. So since it's older product, there's a little bit more slime than normal associated with it. Afterwards, it's just excess of ink and the paper that's been dissolved, or the carrier that's been dissolved. So it does take some time rinsing it off, but I've edited some of that out on this one. And here I am just rinsing it, checking to make sure, as you can see, that it is on there. So again, this is the clear wing. I've sprayed the Intercoat Clear on it. And then basically I've dipped it. The water, again, is about 90 degrees. When I'm putting the paper in, or the design and the hydrofilm in, the way I'm putting it in is to try not to trap any water or any air between it and the water. You don't want air bubbles in there, because air bubbles will affect the print. And then I spray on the Hydrovator until it sort of glosses over, so it looks almost like water on the top. Again, there's lots of rinsing. You will see me dip the body as well, and I will reintegrate how it's done when the body's being dipped, because it takes me a couple of seconds longer to dip the body. So here I am just making sure it's rinsed, making sure it's clean, making sure that film is off of it, and then it's just the design left on the part, with, of course, the Intercoat Clear. So again, it goes polycarbonate, Intercoat Clear, and the design that you've dipped on there. So whatever you do, don't tell my wife I use that garden sprayer. She'll kill me. It will be sticky and slimy afterwards. Anyway, so there is the wing. You can see the axe head that I wanted that more in the center. That's why I used such a large piece. I thought it was going to fit on there nicely. So here I am with the film again, putting it on the water, trying not to get air between it and the water. Now you watch what's happened. When I put this on there, you're going to see it do some funky stuff when it flashes. I call it flashing anyway. It's going to wrinkle up, and then it's going to wrinkle up, and then it's going to relax on the water after a minute. See there, it's wrinkled. I'm going to go set the timer. It's been sitting now in the water for a minute. This is what it looks like after a minute. Okay, so it's sort of smooth on there. I'm going to add the Hydrovator, or the activator. So this is a Hydrovator activator. What this is going to do, again, is going to dissolve the carrier sheet. So it's just going to leave the ink floating on the top of the water. Okay. Again, dip 85, 90 degrees in the water. This is just going to leave it so it's floating nicely. You will see it glosses out nicely like that. Again, film, water, sits for a minute, then activator. Now what I'm going to do is I'm going to look here. I'm going to be looking at the print in the water and seeing approximately where it's going to be. I do flare the edges of the buggy out as much as I can, or of the stadium truck body. and I start dipping slowly on the nose because I'm actually pulling it towards me and turning it downwards to try to get that dip to contour around the front. Once it's contoured around the front, I can go a little bit deeper, a little bit faster. Now I'm looking through the hole, trying to find the design that I want, getting it centered as I can, and boom, done. I give it a little shake just to get rid of any excess ink floating around my hands, but as you can see, my hands are filthy, and it is done. Rinsing is key. This stuff takes a long time to rinse the slime off. Some guys will just set it up so the hose just sprays on it. You don't want like a water jet. You sort of want it nicely so it's just gently rinsing it. Again, trying to get the stuff off my hands. Really should have worn gloves. Now, with that being said, I really don't know where I'm going to go with this channel. I don't know if I'm going to turn it into a channel. I've got some work to do on it with my videotaping and a few other things I need to do as far as my backdrop and where I take the videos from. But again, it might turn into something, it might not. So as you can see, lots of rinsing. I edited out a bunch of the rinsing there. I'm gonna, check the inside again, make sure the slime's off it, make sure it's good, make sure that just it's ready to paint. So again, I'll say it. Put your mask on, cut your design out, take the part off that you're going to paint and put, whatever you're going to do. Like I did the solid yellow, so take that part of your mask off, leave your window mask on, leave the mask on for the hydro dip, okay? When your paint's on, it's dried, take the mask off for the hydro dip area, spray it with Intercoat Clear. Okay, I did 2 coats, let it dry between coats. I sort of did a tack coat, let it somewhat dry, and then I did my main coat of Intercoat Clear. From there, once that's dry, it's ready to dip. Set your tote up, 85, 90 degrees, slowly into the tote, slowly into the water. Make sure when you put your film in, it sits for that minute, has time to relax out. Hydrovator, or whatever you use it for activator. Slowly dip it in. Get your angle at about 30 degrees. Try to trap any air in the areas that you want the dip to stick. As soon as you trap air in there, if it's a wicked corner or an indent or something in the body, it's going to trap air. Just be prepared. You might have to do a little airbrushing. Anyway, a lot of rinsing. Rinse, 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 rinse. Checking it again for the slime. And then, boom, it's on there. It is ready to go. Once that dries up, it's ready for paint. You put your backing color on and then put your whatever you're going to use after that, and you're golden. Yeah. So, and there it is. So it looks like sitting on the bed of my truck or on the tailgate. You can see. And then, yeah, simple, easy, done.